Mankrik, Jandis, Kazakus. It's just any early game card. Wandmaker if you're playing that, Cult Neophyte if you're playing that in your list. Field Contact, even with Octobot, I really don't mind in the mirror. Org Merchant as well. I just want to go wide, because I think secret version or not, you can really struggle.
Yes, and the width of minions is especially useful against Rogue because against Secret Rogue, because there's so many secrets that you want to have a little minion to test for: Noble Sacrifice, Snake Trap, etc. For Glory, this keep right off the bat, instantly keeping double watch post into Jandis. That, I say, is something you can consider when you're on the play, because it's just guaranteed 2, 3. By then, you're very likely to have a play on 4. On the coin, I would be a bit skeptical, though.
And it is my pleasure to announce the brand new game mode coming to Hearthstone, Hearthstone Tower Defense. It's going to be a lot of fun for our players here. You never have to attack with a minion again. You just play your cards and watch your opponent never do anything, because their cards cost 1 million, and when they do eventually play a minion, it just summons more for your opponent.
Kind of hilarious. Tavern defense is what we're calling it.
Ah, right.
Well, the Octobot is very well positioned for TIZS here. No Hand of a Doll to potentially punish in this matchup. It is very likely, except for, well, I don't know, Wicked Stab is not even dealing 4 at this point of the game to go off. And Glory gonna go ahead and already give TIZS the discount so he doesn't get it on the additional card.
Oh man, watching players play like this, it's like they're trying to play while wading through treacle. Like, it's also slow and sluggish with these cards. They can't do anything for the entire game.
What is treacle? I thought you were talking about the Pokemon from Hoenn, the grass starter.
Oh, Trico. No. Yeah, not wading through Trico. Yeah, that sounds a lot more macabre. It's like sticky sugar syrup. I didn't even know it wasn't. Is that a thing outside of England? I'm not sure.
Isn't that molasses? I don't know.
It's kind of like molasses, yeah. I think it's like what comes off of sugarcane.
We have arrived at the point once again where I'm learning new words from Derek on runs. Always fun. But what isn't fun is this turn for TIZS. The Morshan watch post is really making it difficult for him to slam down the Kazakas. I think it's still the play here, but giving all that stats to Glory does not feel good.
There are some good 5-cost ones you can get here. Rush to take out one of the watch posts would be huge. Poison, deal 3 damage would be huge. I mean, any deal 3 damage is likely to be able to make this board a little bit more maneuverable, at least.
I just wonder if he commits the stab, on the 2/2 here. Oh. Because what has been giving TIZS the most problem is that he doesn't have enough minions to actually kill off either of these watch posts.
Right.
And it's not like he's gonna be able to play the stab until, turn 7 because of the Ogremancer. But hello, that is a world champion Jandis right there.
What are you doing here? Absolutely disgusting. Even with, having essentially full information as to which one it is.
Oh no! Those are like the worst outcomes!
Yeah, that was about as terrible as it could possibly go. I mean, even now, Glory can trade the obviously illusioned 5/5 into the Poisonous as well. It's not like he even has to slow down. And this Earth Elemental, man, he can just ride the back of that to victory.
Yep, there is no need for Glory to even take a second glance at these watch posts. He has enough mana to work with from this point on. And also, he can just play his generated cards. Sure, who cares about the expensive cost? This surely goes face. Well, TIZS is stuck in a TIZS.
How is he pulling himself out of this one? Like, we have one thief now, so he can go... I mean, I always say devolving missiles, but it feels like you're kind of in the point where you need to get an insane devolving onto the Earth Elemental. I mean, there it is.
Yeah, at this point I was kind of thinking maybe he can stall for a Flame Strike, but because he has to play minions to even discover anything, that means Glory very likely just has lethal the next turn, and he just gave Glory even more damage with the Intrepid Initiate, so that is a very, very quick first game. I think Glory is even feeling a little bit disgusted with himself there.
That was just the weirdest Rogue mirror I've ever seen. Despite having played a fair bit of Rogue and obviously a lot of mirrors, because it's everywhere on ladder at the moment. I've never seen that many watch posts come down at the start and just never been answered. Like neither player even bothering to try and fight back and just playing with essentially the cards they started with in hand and just ignoring everything they drew. I think that TIZS played his early game about as well as you could. It was just unfortunate for him that it was such a dominant start from Glory with the Jandis, and then he got so unlucky with the Golem as well.
This was unbelievable. I mean, he took a reactive Golem, I think, very well understanding that Glory was in the driver's seat there. And I think in most outcomes, it would still give TIZS a chance to get back into the game, but I mean, you still have to hand it to Glory's mulligan choice as well. In Rogue, you kind of think, do I really want to keep a 2, 3, and 5 drop? None of my cheap, efficient spells, none of the secret synergy to draw with Sparkjoy cheat. You just recognize a lot of the time that's just good enough in the mirror.
It feels like I'm casting on turbo mode now. After doing 1 day of APAC, like half the day was longer than our full day on APAC, it felt like. And then another very, very quick win for Glory there. Taking a look now at, I believe, the Priest for Glory, which once again is the same list as Alu Temu. Staunch practice partners as always. I definitely don't dislike this list. The more I see Sethic Veilweavers, the more I'm a big fan of it in this Control Priest. It's just the lack of Malagos in the late game, which I find a little questionable. I think it's such a perfect fit in the Priest that I would like to see that in the late game as well, but the core of the deck is still very much there, and it's doing very powerful things.
In a vacuum, I would agree with you. I really like the Malagos at the top end there, but maybe for specifically the APAC meta, if they had a good read on there being quite a big amount of token druids, I think this list does quite a lot of work, especially the score bit. I'm just surprised every time I see this card just how good it is in many different situations. And the Ysera the Dreamer is usually the card you would think, okay, why not just have Malagos in this place? It's the fact that it gives you an immediate dream or nightmare.
Right.
I mean, both if you have the hand space. And on 10 mana, if you play the Ysera into just Dream, that is an extremely high tempo play a lot of the time.
It is, yeah. It's exactly what you're looking for, especially when you're comboing it with, the Samuro that you have to go with Nightmare again to get another board sweep. I do agree that Ysera is a good fit as well, and I don't know, maybe Malagos and Ysera is too much late game, and they just wanted to decide on one of them. But either way, it's going to be up against TIZZ's Secret Libram Paladin. Very standard stuff here. If you're going to run Kazakus, this is the list I like, where you go for no Libram of Judgment. And again, the secret deviation that you go for, one Galloping Savior instead of one Avenge, which is what I play on ladder. I think either way is perfectly fine. It's doing Paladin things. We've seen it a lot. We're going to continue to see it a lot. You all know it and love it.
And I think the debate is still ongoing as to whether Priest actually has a good matchup against this. But I will say it definitely is on the Priest player to be more conservative with how they expend their resources. Because, again, Paladin has quite a bit of card draw these days because of the Northwatch Commander, because of the Sword pulling the secrets from the deck, and of course, Knight of Anointment. And then the Priest eventually has to contend with the repeated Librams from Lady Liadrin. So Priest has to be very careful to not take too much damage in the early game, that they have the sort of free turn to go for Elucia and dump the Penflingers, because if they haven't created that window, even if you do dump the Penflingers from your opponent's hand, sometimes you just lose to their board.
That's very possible. It's kind of the trap that you fall into as Priest, because usually you can take care of Paladin's early game. You can go for Hysteria, maybe you're ahead on board, get through their secrets without too much trouble because you're not attacking with minions a lot of the time. But then you have to realize you can't just blow your entire hand on a early game defensive push. You have to be able to deal with their late game. It gets so brutally powerful, those Penflingers over and over, which is where Elucia comes into play. You don't necessarily want it in hand right now for Glory, but he'll be glad he has it for later on.
Yeah. And for TIZZ, I completely agree with keeping the Truth Seeker in the mulligan. This is one of the slower matchups where you definitely want to see that card sooner than later, especially on coin. But it's unfortunate that he has not hit any of the good early game cards. No Attendance, no First Day of School, no Sword, not even Knight of Anointment, which means that Glory gets to potentially... Okay, I was going to say Apotheosis, but of course Omayog is a fear.
How bad is it if you get Oh My Yogged? I guess it's kind of bad. But if it's not there, well, look, you're ecstatic.
Yep. I mean, I don't know the pool of 3 cost spells well enough to say how bad it is, but
Yeah.
Glory says it's worth the risk, and I understand why, because the alternative was just heal up his minion and pass.
And I mean, now he is going to do that and just heal up his minion and pass, but he's well ahead on board while he is doing it. It's a big difference.
But finally, TIZS gets to put down his Elder. Truth Seekers start getting something of substance online. And I expect to see at least one Libram hit this so that it value trades the Wand Maker.
Yeah, I think I like the 1 Libram. Like, if you go for 1, you're obviously vulnerable to Bump and Holy Smite, but it's not so much the minion dying that you're afraid of. It's, I mean, obviously them discovering Focused Will that you're mainly afraid of and it being silenced.
Right.
But if it just dies and you get it back, that's fine, as long as they can't value trade and heal back up their guy.
You should mention discovering Focus Will, because Glory did just pick up a Renew here. It's probably not worth using because he can't really heal anything at the moment, but the alternative is just Smite Trade.
There's a couple of good outcomes, though. If you get Focused... obviously Focused Will is good. Power Word Fortitude, if you can get it here, I believe is exactly playable and would be incredibly strong here.
Right. Yeah, he probably does have to go for the Renew because all of the alternatives are so ugly. I think
like
Glory is considering an Elucia play as well, but I don't see it with the time he has remaining.
Okay.
Okay, so if he goes Raise Dead, he can't play a minion without proccing a potential Galloping.
But he's just going all in.
Wow, okay. So this is saying that Glory was okay, even if there were a 3-4 to hit the board next turn, which I am not sure I agree with, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a weird turn. Like, he got a lot of benefit. He's able to play Mage Scribe next turn and a spell alongside it to instantly activate it, which is very, very nice.
Worth noting that TIZS only runs 1 Galloping in the list, so that might have been a big factor in Glory's decision last turn. In any case, Glory should have full info on this being avenged now.
Yes, 100%. And he's very happy about it. This game is just going pretty smoothly now. Power Infusion to go alongside this Mage Scribe, making a very big minion, kind of forcing the Libram of Justice on the other side, needing to be there for TIZS. As he's going for this new thing that we're seeing, or kind of this new play style that players are adopting with Priest, of just going incredibly board-focused.
Not all over yet for TIZS, though. It really hurts to have lost the Death Rattle in the tail end because that would get him the Lady Liadrin for a bit more fuel later on. But the 5-8 is still threatening for Glory at the moment. As for choice of secret to play here, I kind of felt like Oh My Yogg would be more valuable than Galloping.
Yeah, I think just wanting to disrupt the killing of this Talon as much as possible. I mean, I guess by playing the other one, you kind of get the benefit of Oh My Yogg because they're going to start with like an inefficient spell first and maybe waste some mana. Would be the upside of going for Galloping Savior instead.
So for Glory, I think he should still test with Holy Smite on the 6-9 first.
With
if you get that Oh My Yogged, it's pretty unfortunate, but he can just make sure one of his more relevant spells goes through. But wow.
Does Glory know that Oh My Yogg is in the game? I swear he hasn't tested for it once so far. He just plays his cards like Apotheosis on 3, Power Infusion here.
I mean, I want to say the disrespect, but maybe he had it calculated where, like, even if that's Oh My Yogg, he could do something like trade Holy Smite. I don't know. It certainly feels iffy, but man, man is he brave.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out pretty well here.
Ay, these are not the 1-drops that TIZS necessarily wanted to see. He needs card draw desperately.
Yeah, this Emerald Skystalker is like okay, or Sky Talon, whatever it's called. It's, you know, it allows him to point some pen flingers at face, I guess, but he really wants to play this Libram of Hope.
Too threatening in the end, though. Perfectly understandable.
Reporting for duty.
The light protects me.
Is buffing the Sky Talon there before attacking just to get an extra wisdom in the pool. Potentially if Lady Liadrin comes off the top, and he really needs a card of similar, if not greater impact to stay in this.
Yeah, no, big fan of that play. You always want to get your, always want to get Wiz in the pool.
Is there an Elucia available here? That's the first thing Glory's thinking about because he's seen the Pen Flinger. If you do that, TIZS doesn't have the mana for Ysera just yet, but you would give them, I think, Sethic, unless he started with Holy Smite Sethic, but then things start to get scary with the galloping. There's too many variables. In the end, Glory just says this is not the Elucia turn.
Yeah, and I think it's in that awkward spot, right, where Elucia, you're just giving your opponent something better than you're going to get on average. Just stealing one Pen Flinger does not feel worth it.
Oh my, even more cycle off the Sethic. He's just going to hold on to this other Focus Will. I think that's very justifiable because he hasn't seen Liadrin yet. So when that comes down, there's going to be a bunch more Librams that he could potentially silence away.
Sword of the Fallen, one of the best cards in the game right now, and one of the worst possible draws for TIZS. Like, I guess he can thin his deck, would be the bright side here, but yeah, you just need to get their heavy hitters now. You can pray that this Libram of Hope will survive as the one solace in your game plan here.
Glory, I think, very smartly holding on to Raise Dead. He never had to use it at any point prior to this, and it's just a back pocket Oh My Yogg tester now. You could start with Raise Dead, and some small fraction of the time that gets backstab and just rips the Divine Shield from the 8/8, in which point the Soul Mirror becomes a clear. But it's not very likely.
Yeah.
The important thing is, I guess Focus Will doesn't work on the 8/8 with Soul Mirror because it gets too much health.
I mean, it gets... Oh no, it wouldn't get you a taunt, right? Because it silences the taunt part where, yeah, everything's just that little bit off. Like, I mean, you could just go Soul Mirror, right? You proc the Avenge, which is the downside of that part, but you get an 8/8 taunt on the other side, so you're not going to tank the damage yourself straight away, at least.
And he is not starting with Soul Mirror. Very good, Glory. This is like certainly Oh My Yogg by this point.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, you could just tank the 8 damage here, I suppose. Or even attack into the 3/2 first so that you proc the Avenge on a big guy and then get a bigger minion yourself.
I'm not sure. It's a bit scary to take that 8, but if TIZS, for example, had Libram of Justice here, that's a big punish for Glory. So I kind of like the way you were thinking about it.
Yeah, I think attacking the horse, if he'd had a little more time, was better. Because if it buffs the Squire, then it just trades evenly and it's, you know, easy come, easy go. If it buffs the bigger minion here, you get an 11-12 as well on your Ancient Guardian. So it just means they can't value trade you. And value trading is a pretty big deal here. Glory doesn't have an ability to deal small increments of damage.
That's so unlucky for TIZS, though. That's like the one holy spell that's the worst in the pool because he was going to pull a secret out with the sword anyway. Not like he could have attacked with the sword first because there was a taunt in the way. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, it's just all becoming very, very awkward.
Still, though, Glory doesn't necessarily have a way to deal with this 11-2 unless he wants to Ysera Dream It, which feels not the greatest because it just comes back as an 8/8.
Shadow Step
I don't know how strong of a read he has on Penflinger being with another spell in hand, but I don't think this is Elucia because you give TIZS the Ysera. That's too much, right?
Yeah, well, he knows that it's a spell in hand because it was drawn by the Knight of Anointment. He doesn't know what it is exactly.
True, yeah.
But he definitely knows it's there. He can, of course, just go with Ysera Dream here and deal with the 8/8 next turn, which, you know, he obviously has a lot more ability to do with the cards in hand now.
Right. It would probably require Ysera to get Nightmared and trade, but that's okay as long as Glory doesn't take too much damage.
Yeah, he just needs to mop up these Librams of Hope, and Glory is going to be just fine. It's, you know, it is easier said than done, though, with another one in hand, and then potentially Liadrin to follow after. As bad as this has been, as bad as this has been looking for TIZS, it still is very, very winnable. This late game for Paladin is just so awkward for Priest to pick through, because that strong single target removal isn't really there anymore for Priest. Shadow of Death is all they have access to.
Ooh, I guess Glory should just take the cheaper taunt here, because he can now go for, say, Awakens and just taunt if he doesn't want to expend the the Nightmare on this, but I still think he should clear the 8/8. I think he should know this is either Avenge or Galloping Savior now. Sorry,
Well,
it's certainly Avenge, yeah.
Yes. If it was drawn off the Night of Anointment, he does technically have 100% knowledge here. It's difficult to keep track of, but he does know.
And so that means this is now out of Nightmare range, which is scary, but he can silence if he likes, or just play the taunt.
I think I like just playing the taunt. Yeah, you accept that it's going to chew it up here. It's a lot of value that you're losing here.
The Justice is so scary, though. I mean, I don't know. If there was Libram of Justice Penflinger here, suddenly Glory's clocking 11 to the face.
Yeah.
Like, he could have gotten something like Silence Nightmare and play Emerald Drake. It's a lot of resources used, but I just did not like leaving the 11-10 up.
Well, but if he silences it, then he can't trade, right? Because it gets +3 health. It would have been 3 less attack going phase, but he still wouldn't have been able to clear, is the real problem.
My mistake. That's right, that's right. He couldn't have killed it, which means that TIZS is still very much in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like the real thing was just looking at potentially trying to proc the Avenge a little bit differently. Like just by holding off on going for the Ysera Awakens at all on that turn. It was a very low value Ysera Awakens.
Good point. One worth revisiting at a later time. I think TIZS just has 0 secrets left, so Northwatch Commander, sure, that's the best it's gonna be.
Rally? Is he really in on a Sethic plan to get this done? He doesn't even get it if that's what he was looking for.
I don't know, I think I would have started with the Scorpid there to search for a better Discover.
I mean, you can get Soul Mirror. That's kind of where you were at, I think, to be able to pull this one back. Or, of course, Shadowed Ruin.
Yeah, well, this is guaranteed gets rid of the 8/8 and puts a taunt in the way that, at the moment, is looking like it needs to sink the 11 attack into it. But, man, is it scary.
And it's a very cute combo to go with the Focused Will. Oh, I just don't know if it's going to be enough. It's going to be so close now, right? Like, he can kill off the Scorpid with the 3/4, but unless he wants to sink both the Penflingers into the Circus Amalgam, this 11 damage is not going face here.
He can't do that. He just can't sink the Penflingers and then call it a day, because then the Scorpid will kill off the 11-10, and then TIZS has 0 burst damage left. So I believe the 11-10 has to go into the 4/5, and you're very sad about it, but the 3/4 can then kill the Scorpid, and maybe your 11-10 lives to see another attack. I mean, Glory has clearly shown he could not deal with this 11-10 for a very long time. I wonder if you ever just play the Penflingers and just say it's getting protected by the 11-6, but very unlikely.
And with neither of the Penflingers coming down, you have to be at least considering a Lucia on this turn. Like, you don't know what the other card is, but you know it probably wasn't a spell, or they would have played Penflinger. You know it wasn't Liadrin, or they would have jammed it down. Like, the likelihood of it being second Penflinger is fairly high.
True enough. But even if it is second Penflinger, I think Glory also knows that's just not enough to get there unless the exact next draw is Liadrin. So he puts together a threatening board. TIZS, man, he needs Liadrin stat, right? So it's not often I recommend Hannah Vidal on the Penflinger, so you don't get any of the stats. But it gives you flexibility to play Liadrin immediately if it's the draw off the top. I feel like that might be the only out. He's running out of time.
And then what you play Liadrin just gets instantly Scorpioned. It feels dreadful, but...
But you get the books. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is what he has left in his deck. To be fair, Kazakus is still a decent draw here, Libram of Justice as well. But TIZS is actually going for that play to leave himself mana flexibility, but the sword does nothing.
Bwomp bwomp. A big whiff there, because now for Glory, I mean, maybe you can just go for Mind Render Elutia and give them the Ysera. All the cards they get back are going to go into your hand anyway. The best they can do is like Nightmare and Dream here. As long as you can delete the Penflingers from their hand, you're just winning. Or maybe it's just Ysera itself. Like, whatever you do here, you're pushing so far ahead.
Yeah, even if TIZS were to get Liadrin off the top here, if he doesn't have a minion on board, he can't get immediate damage off of the books other than 3 Penflings, which is far from enough to kill Glory off here. So I think making the widest board, making it so that Libram of Justice with 2 Penflingers doesn't even clear anything is the way to go, and he takes the win here. But I don't know if Glory's completely satisfied about his play. To be fair, I completely messed up when I was saying he should have killed the 11-10 when he couldn't. So the only objective thing I felt he could have done better is playing around Oh My Yogg early on.
Yeah, I think the late game there, it was very, very confusing. And, you know, while he is clearly self-critical there and realizing it was a pretty ragtag win to get there, a win is still a win. And, yeah, for me, it was like the big thing was trying to not play Ysera Awaken so aggressively just to actually up the amount of damage on the board. Like, I get that he was trying to clear off the Ancient Guardian, but it just felt like it wasn't going to be consistently happening enough because he knew that the secret would be avenged at that point. Maybe he forgot that part and was hoping for one of the other secrets, but I think even then all of the others had gone at that point. But in the end, the power of all the Ysera spells in combination was just enough to get all of these threats out of the way, and so he does come through with the win. 2-0 up. It looks like it could be 2-3-0 sweeps here for both of the Japanese competitors, maybe facing off brother against brother in the grand finals.
That would be quite a way to kick off the season. I'm glad we had that little highlight of Glory silencing his own Nightmare Ysera, because that was a very cute play. Probably not super necessary to win in the game, but a nice optimization as well. And if we do get that Alutamu versus Glory final, not only is it going to be very strong proof that this lineup was the way to go this week for APAC, it's also just going to be perhaps the highest level matchup we could have had this weekend.
Oh, I'll be so excited. And all that Glory has left to do is win with his Paladin. And it was, you know, looking a little weak against the Priest there towards the end, but it's still Paladin. It's still very arguably the best deck in the game right now. You know, depending on which player you ask for, a Paladin, a Priest, a Mage, or a Rogue player, they will say, my deck is the best deck in the game, and it's not even close. It's always, I think, the statement that follows. But I will definitely listen out to those arguments for Paladin. Such a dominant deck right now. And against the Druid, the token Druid, the 15 2-ops, the standard list that TIZS is going for. You know, as you said, I maybe overemphasized how good of a matchup it is for the Paladin earlier on, but I do just think it comes together so beautifully unless you get the most absurd of Druid hands right out of the gate.
Yeah, Druid really cannot settle for just good enough in this matchup. I think they need to hit either a really strong Gibberling opener, or they need to hit the Fungal into not just Glowfly, but Glowfly plus the Lightning Bloom into Soul of the Forest very early. It needs to be very specific combinations of cards that can outlast the Paladin. And also, the Paladin needs to like not hit Oh My Yogg at a good time for the Druid to be able to make their own game plan consistent enough. But Paladin is built to hit the secrets consistently because of the Sword of the Fallen, and also to a certain extent Knight of Anointment. So it's a big ask for Druid.
A very big ask, and not only a big ask for the Druid, it will then be a big ask for the Rogue and then the Paladin mirror as well, which TIZS is going to have to perform to take this one down. But even having said that, I have been very enamored with the play that we've seen from TIZS so far this weekend. There have been, few things that I have vehemently disagreed upon, I feel like. But sometimes, it doesn't matter how well you play. If the Druid doesn't give you the goods, it doesn't give you the goods. And if Glory has what already has proven to be one of the best cards in the matchup in Sword of the Fallen, that card alone signifies a decent starting hand.
The mulligan for TIZS is a lot more complicated. There are worlds where you can full keep this and say, I'm going to Thorn Growth on 2 just to be able to try and fight back whatever small minions you put on the board in the meantime. And then I'll have my Fungal, and then Lightning Bloom being kept there for flexibility later on is worth considering. But TIZS is just going to go ahead and throw all of it away, which I think is a more optimistic type of mulligan, which certainly is consistent with what I was saying with Druid. Like, you can't just go for good enough here.
Yeah, you got to shoot for the stars with this deck, because you need, in this matchup, a huge Gibbling Star blooming out a Glowfly Swarm before they're able to go wide on the board and fight back, because already, there's no one drop, which is the one bad thing here for Glory, but everything else working out beautifully. But I guess TIZS kind of taking that approach of, I need to be a little bit more proactive, a bit more aggressive, and coining out, or innovating out even on turn 1, the Thorn Growth Sentry.
This is very interesting. I mean, this is a curve, as you can see, the 2 into Adorable plus the Marcel and then Fungal Fortunes. It's certainly like lower power level than what Glory can be doing for the same amount of mana. But TIZS is just saying here, the initiative I get from this should give me the time to find something more powerful with Fungal Fortunes. The only problem with this play is that the something more powerful, if it's Glowfly Swarm, it's going to be, significantly less effective given that TIZS used a lot of these spells. But if he did find, say, Arbor Up, that's a whole different story.
That's the one, right? He's not going in on the idea of finding another way to build a board. He's saying, this one's going to stick, and then I'm going to buff it up with Pride's Fury, Soul of the Forest, Arbor Up. There are many good draws here. Even just a Power of the Wild, I think you would not be too sad to see at all.
That's actually such a good draw for TIZS, because I was thinking before that draw that he had to test with Innervate for Oh My Yogg, and then if it's not Oh My Yogg, you're kind of sad about the mana you float with Fungal Fortunes. But now he has the 2 good options, right? Whether or not it's Oh My Yogg, you can go Fungal or Soul of the Forest, depending on the outcome.
Yeah, thinking to next turn, it does get a little bit more awkward because they're going to swing again, almost certainly. And then you have another secret to contend with and only 1 spell in hand. It's still probably just the correct play to go in here because you do get yourself a nice big board. But for the future, the cracks are starting to seep in. He's got no cards in hand. And if this Fungal Fortunes is Oh My Yogged, he could be in big trouble.
Certainly feels like it. And it's weird for me to suggest giving up card draw here, but with the armor up, oh man. Like, you're pretty certain,
wow.
I was going to say, that it's Oh My Yogg. It's not here. And that means that it's very likely to be Oh My Yogg next turn with the last pull from the sword. So then Arbor Up is still a bit iffy, but now he has Fungal and Power of the Wild. So he has 1 more turn to be able to delay. The thing is, the delay is really painful for TIZS here, because if Glory clears your board in the meantime, then the Arbor Up is doing nothing by the time your Oh My Yogg is out of the way.
Well, those were pretty nice 1-drops to get here, right? Because you can just go Commander, rush it in, clear something off the board.
That's pretty nuts. I mean, even the Og Merchants themselves just dealing 1 damage, you could think of them as scuffed penflingers, and that's still okay for this situation because he has Libram of Justice.
Yeah.
Probably just use 1 this turn and the swing. Like, I'm thinking that he uses the rocket on the Treant with the swing to kill it off, and then the Northwatch doesn't need to have rush. The thing is, killing the Marcel actually just puts more stats onto the side of the board.
I think that's very smart. I think that's just a little bit better way to go about it.
And that is what Glory goes for. Now TIZS has full information on the secrets, Avenge, Galloping Savior, and Oh My Yogg. Okay.
you can just go Bloom Arbor up, I guess, and try and push the damage phase to close out the game. It was a good draw there.
That's strong. I'm pretty sure that's strong because you don't have to play 3 cards here. And wow, he gets a good result as well.
Is it coming together? Like, I feel like so often this Druid deck just doesn't have teeth, but this Arbor Up is an impressive push onto the board. These Librams of Justice, are that little bit too expensive still.
Yeah. I was going to say the only question is whether you kill the 2-1 to make sure that even though Avenge does proc, it's only 1 minion on board, so that's less trading tools for Glory in a way. But it's 2 damage to face that you miss in that situation, and TIZS is really just smelling blood here.
So if we were to see Libram of Justice plus one of the 1 damage effects, I guess the Org Merchant would make the most sense. You can't full clear right, but you can survive.
Yeah, he can isolate the Marsul, which honestly feels not good enough here because he even has to trade away his 3-4, but no other choice there is for Glory, right? You are dead to second Arbor Up. You're dead to if there's 2 Power of the Wilds and Hero Power.
Let me think.
But Savage Roar is no longer a breakpoint.
Well, actually, if you go Libram of Justice and Org Merchant, and as you said, just isolate the Cub and don't swing into anything with the weapon, then you're not dead to Arbor Up, right? Because they wouldn't be able to Hero Power as well. You'd survive at 1. So he's deceptively safe here, I think you could argue.
Yeah. I mean, he was really never going to swing in the first place, right? Because
right, yeah, exactly.
you can't take any damage. Oh man, that can give him so many lethal outs, right? Even Mark of Nature, that type of thing.
Sure, yeah.
But he has to be aware of the Savior, so as long as he fits in the Hero Power before... Oh no.
Oh, it's so close.
Oh man, I don't know.
Do you just go Power of the Wild and for buff and then Hero Power face, and then if they don't have Taunt, then you just Hero Power for the win next turn?
I think that's the line, because one way or another, if they have Libram of Hope, you're in a bad spot, right? It's not just Taunt, it's Heal, and that's the only Taunt in the deck, as far as I know, aside from some weird generations off of First Day of School.
Well, the Libram of Hope is unplayable, but it's the Truth Seeker and the Tailend that you're really afraid of, right? Coming down next turn.
Right. Oh my god, there's so many taunts. I just straight up forgot.
And he's respecting that line, saying, you know what, you are fairly likely to have a Taunt or some way to clear, heal back up anything to stop this damage coming through. So he's just going to go wide on the board instead.
And Glory, again, is really struggling to clear this off. He can go the 1-3 and the 3-1, Libram of Justice, and then he has to take 2 to do it? Am I missing something?
Penflinger in. Libram, Penflinger. You leave the Penflinger on the board, and I think you can do it, right? Oh no, because no.
No mana, no mana, right? It's not there.
No, wait, that was wrong. If he'd gone Penflinger and then Justice instead of Penflinger and then First Day at School, he could have gone Penflinger again here.
Oh yeah, and
then bounced it back.
The book. Yeah. You're right.
He had the clear, I think, right?
Right, without having to face tank.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a major misstep then.
I mean, it's very, very complicated, but again, I think it was there, just if you sequence things correctly here, but just, he was still in a very bad spot, obviously, but that is the kind of situation against Druids specifically that is salvageable. If they don't have the ability to get a board of any way, they have no burst damage in the deck at all now that Savage Roar has gone. So I don't know, I think that was maybe a slight misstep there by Glory at the end to try and lock down that board from the Druid.
Yeah, I also want to go back and check that, but if it was First Day of School, then he did have the clear without having to swing the weapon, which means could have cleared the board, stayed at 3 HP, and that means that TIZS did not have any damage outside of hero power that didn't come from minions having to stick. And then that could have given Glory 2 turns of a window to find healing or more taunts. And that potentially is giving TIZS the window to come back in this series.
A very, very big deal indeed. And I mean, well done by TIZS. It was a creative line to take. While we were mainly focusing on Glory at the end there because he had the slightly more difficult decision making. It was so interesting throughout. Like the turn 1 play of going with the Thorn Growth Sentries, that I can completely understand. You go nice and aggressive at the start. If you do find yourself with an Arbor up to go on that board, you're looking to be in a great spot. That final turn from TIZS was really the more interesting one to me as to whether you just put them down to 1 and threaten lethal with the hero power. I kind of feel like that was a more direct way to just force them to have one of 3 cards in their deck, or of course generate it with the first day at school. It was very, very interesting.
Truly. I think TIZZ's play at the end there is what I would have ended up on without enough time to think it through, but it really has to come back and make you think about their reads on their hand. You feel like they had a spot where they would have rather played Aldor, but you made a play that required them to go for removal instead, something to those lines. But in any case, it will be Glory with another shot on the Paladin here. He has quite a strong opening hand, but TIZS has Watch Post.
There's 2 things Glory is very good at. It's drawing Sword of the Fallen into Northwatch and getting Orc Merchants off of first day at school, because this is 2 for 2 now on exactly that happening. And even with a 1-drop to go along this game plan, this is looking premium in terms of a start here for Glory.
He is going to start respecting the Watch Post though, not with his own minions, so that it makes it tougher for TIZS to clear, but I agree it's fine for him to face tank too and potentially clear this off with the Aug Merchants next turn.
Right, yeah, swing double Aug. It's awkward to pass up the Northwatch commander, but these Watch Posts are so annoying for Paladin to deal with.
This is so awkward for TIZS now. I wonder if you ever like prep to activate. Oh man, I hate the sound of it, but it's a combo activator and you can get a spell off of one thief, assuming it's not Oh My Yogg.
Right.
The prep.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Like it tests for it. It's like a good tester for Oh My Yogg.
And it would take a lot of resources to say get through a potential Galloping Saver, but he can do it because he has Shadow Step and Prize Plunderer. So I generally just like starting with prep and then do the turn from there. No time though.
Just taking it real slow. I guess, you know, in a deck where you don't want to deliberately proc their secrets and let them replay them, it's kind of often the best way to go of just let them get all their secrets from your deck, then you have perfect information, then you start wading through them.
I mean, I'd make that argument if he had better minion presence, but his only minion can't attack. Okay. So we did talk about the Aug Merchant clear last turn, and what he can do instead, while still fitting in the Northwatch, is to coin an Aug Merchant and then just attack with the Aldor as well. Kind of like the sound of that.
Yeah, I guess you may, and then you start with the Orc Merchant, right? Just get the cheaper draw. Yeah, this seems like a perfectly reasonable way to go.
For my discretion.
And he did use, I believe, the better Aug Merchant for this situation because he can use the Guardian on a friendly minion.
Okay, well, it's the kind of hand that can come together reasonably well. Like Oh My Yogg tested, fine. And then if you want to do it, could be Field Contact, Prize Plunderer, and then step it and play it again to deal with the horse, if that is the Galloping Savior secret. Or he could just chill.
The first Prize Plunderer would only deal 3 then? Sorry, 2. Just not enough to deal with the 3/4.
In which case, Field Contact Orc Merchant to give it Divine Shield doesn't protect it for a turn. Like Field Contact
is just too awkward here.
Yeah, even if he goes Field Contact and step it just to prepare for a stronger play next turn, he would then proc the horse, which is pretty awkward.
You can play everything but the Field Contact, and that would kill the horse and the 3/4, I believe.
Oh, your hand is so bad then, right? Like you
I know.
need the contact to draw cards.
It's a tough call to make. With the time remaining, that's certainly not an option anymore, but this is rough because you were talking about how proccing the secrets incrementally works out bad for you because Glory just replays them. Oh man, this Cariel as well.
Yep, gorgeous way to spend your mana on this turn. Just perfectly curves Cariel, Aldor, Talon, and then, I mean, even just Liadrin at the end of that, even if you don't get much back, it's more stats on the board.
If that were Kazakus, it wouldn't be active right now.
You're not
Just
wrong.
saying.
For the Alliance and my
No, it was actually Muzzy that said that.
And the problems continue to stack up for TIZS. Whatever was the problem last turn, it's the same if not worse this turn. The Horus is always procced by any play that's good from TIZS, and he doesn't have the prep to buff the Prize Plunderer a bit more.
Like the fact that the Orc Merchant gives Divine Shield is so awkward as well, or he could like preemptively do it on the Cariel and then kill it off, step back the Prize Plunderer, take out the horse or whatever, but the way this shakes out, it's so rough.
Yeah, I really don't know the best way to go about this turn. Because if you go Og Merchant on, okay, his own minions, so he's not looking to proc Avenge, probably. This deals 2 only, so it's short, but then he can kill it off with the weapon.
Unless it's another Omayog here, in which case he can't get the step active.
Yeah, it's just not working out for TIZS here.
Disaster.
It's all falling apart. It's all falling apart.
Yeah, a desperate prayer is about all he can give here. Very thematically appropriate, as he is going to get absolutely domed on this turn.
Yeah, there's no coming back from this. Glory has his choice of trades. Libram of Justice does actually nothing here, which is funny. But, I mean, the Cariel can go face, discount a bunch of things.
Yeah, that's true.
Cariel's always going face. I think that's a good way to start, just to make sure that your turn becomes with the actual mana cost of things. Unless he wants to trade the Cariel.
I mean, I kind of wonder if Libram of Justice does actually do nothing. I kind of want to do it just as Light's Justice to swing into this this field contact, sorry, to get some more damage face. But this is obviously more than fine as well.
This is interesting to me that he chose to kill off his Cariel instead of, say, putting his steed to a 3-1, and then he could have ended up with that same board state.
Yeah,
maybe he's respecting Penflinger a bit.
Yeah, that's the one, right? 1 health minions don't do all too much, often against Rogue.
He already got all the discounts he could with this hand, so fair enough. Okay.
Ogremancer and Brain Freeze on the Truth Seeker. Like, you know it's Avenge, I think, at this point, right? With both Omayogs and the one Galloping Savior having been procced.
Right, and that's why he is going for it this way, softening up the board, but not triggering Avenge. And this Libram of Justice is brutal.
Yeah.
Free.
Aldor, Libram, Orc Merchant seems super clean to me.
After you place the Libram, the 3-3 can go on the 2-2 that's generated. And then the Og Merchant can clear up the Ogremancer. The Og Merchant that's on board for TIZS is just the slightest bit awkward, but it's such a small problem in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the skeleton even goes to 1 health as well, so it's not like you have to sink all too much damage into it. Why don't we not overcomplicate things here, Glory? Why don't we just do the strong turn?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And that means the Augmentation goes on the 3 attack minion.
Nicely done.
And TIZS, I don't know what kind of miracle he can get at this point. Not enough mana to work with.
That's it. Just nothing doing with the mana. Like, even if he goes Primordial Studies into... I don't even know what he can get. Discover a spell again off of the scroll, Steward of Scrolls, and he just wouldn't have mana to work with it then either.
Passage with 2 mana feels terrible.
Rough way to go out for TIZS. Very well fought overall, but in the end, Glory just too strong, man. This Paladin draw was something else. And I think for TIZS, that turn where he procced all the secrets as the rogue and everything went disastrously wrong.
Right.
I don't want to call it wrong, because if it had not been specifically Oh My Yogg there, but the second Avenge instead, it would have worked out a little better. He could have at least cleared off some of the damage from the board and maybe been in a position where he's taking a little bit less damage. But even then, I still feel like he could have maybe just waited that one extra turn and try and get a little bit more mana, proc the Oh My Yogg with something else perhaps. It's difficult to say that it was definitely correct, but it was so easy for that turn to go wrong that he went for.
I agree. It's not so much that he had a micro problem on that turn with, say, the sequencing. It was just the timing of when to do that turn when you bite the bullet and start proccing the secrets. I was advocating for the turn prior with the prep and then potentially being able to clear up everything even though it kind of strands the field contact in your hand. I tend to think that type of board presence is worth it against Paladin just because if you leave any problem left on their board, it's going to snowball even more when they already have the sword equipped. And you also had your argument of the turn after, which is also fair, but it can't just be halfway there. And that really came back to bite TIZS.
It did, and while we give our commiserations to TIZS, he can be happy with having gained 3 points so far, finishing in the top 4 in week 1, a very impressive feat in its own right. But that does not detract from glory whatsoever, going through 3-1 to face off against the most appropriate of final bosses in Alutemu in the grand finals for week 1. It is literally the identical lineups going up against each other because, as always,